Tonight in 7 News, restrictions relaxed. Queenslanders allowed to bushwalk, picnic and shop for non-essential items within days. The Bluetooth handshake, the government's controversial COVID tracing app, ready for download. New clues on whether Kim Jong-un is dead or alive. Exclusive, the Gold Coast grandparents quarantined 3 times just trying to get home. And the planes from around the world gathering dust in the outback.
Live from Brisbane, 7 News with Katrina Blowers.
Good evening. The freedom to go on a picnic, bushwalking and shop for non-essential items will return for Queenslanders from next Saturday. The Premier today unveiling the first wave of restrictions that will be relaxed in time for the Labor Day long weekend.
Crowds on Gold Coast beaches today. Soon it'll get even busier. After weeks of rules, the rewards are coming.
Because we have done such a terrific job of flattening that curve, in discussions with the Chief Health Officer, from next Friday, we will be able to lift some of the stay-at-home restrictions.
The rules will be relaxed from 11:59 p.m. on Friday the 1st of May, so you can go for a picnic, take a drive, ride a motorbike, jet ski or take the boat out for fun, visit national parks and go shopping for non-essential items like clothes and shoes.
If we're allowed to go to a national park, that'll be good. It'll be a change of scenery.
About time. I mean, everybody's probably busting to get out.
But there are 3 conditions. Social distancing and hygiene must be maintained. You must stay within 50 kilometres of your home and you can only go out with a member of your household or you can meet up with one friend.
If you see a lot of people at a particular picnic venue, don't go there. Find somewhere else.
Retailers buoyed by the announcement.
Today we have basically reopened for the first time in over a month.
There were 3 new cases overnight. The state's total now at 1,030. Police issued 61 infringement notices yesterday, but
not one infringement notice has been issued in relation to the Anzac Day celebrations.
I firmly believe that if Queenslanders continue to adhere to the new restrictions when they come in place and follow them, that we will not see additional cases.
The test run will be reviewed after 2 weeks, and if all goes well, it'll pave the way for more restrictions to be eased.
We really need the public to 100% cooperate with, because if we do see mass gatherings, I will not hesitate to clamp back down.
Trusting everyone to follow the new wave of rules. Marlena Wapp, 7 News.
And Alex Lewis, people were taking liberties a week early on the Gold Coast.
Certainly seemed that way, Katrina. With perfect weather, our beaches attracted a steady flow of people. Parking at Burleigh Heads was at a premium, and many people clearly went there to exercise, instead sunbaking, and often in groups of more than 2 people.
It's not as if we want to break the rules or anything, we just bend them a little.
Those who did bend the rules did appear to make some effort at keeping their distance.
All right, thank you, Alex Lewis. The federal government's COVID Trace app went live across the country tonight, enabling health authorities to warn you if you've come into contact with someone who has coronavirus. Part of the big sell, a privacy promise that your data is secure.
It's the one handshake that is encouraged during lockdown.
This operates by a Bluetooth handshake, and right now it's the only safe handshake we're allowed to have.
The COVID Safe phone app available from today to help alert people who've been in contact with an infected person.
It's to protect our nurses and our doctors, our families, our friends and ourselves.
Recording contact between users via Bluetooth, storing the data on secure servers. Users lodging only their name, even a fake name if they like, age range and postcode, under what the government says are the toughest security protections.
Nothing's 100% secure, but I think this is a very good example of how to do it right.
No one has access to it, not even yourself, no Commonwealth officials.
Only state health authorities will have that access when a user tests positive, sending alerts to those who've been within 1.5 metres of that person for more than 15 minutes.
This app could play a constructive role in helping defeat COVID-19.
The government says there'll need to be a 40% take-up rate for the app to be most effective. And despite community scepticism, even among some government MPs, the Chief Medical Officer says he's confident we'll beat that.
good uptake, in my mind, would be well over half the people, and I reckon we'll get it.
And he says the more who download the app, the sooner he'll be able to recommend an easing of restrictions. Health professionals lining up to support it.
As a doctor, I will be downloading COVID Safe app tonight.
This is how you can do your part to help us.
With the big sell beginning tonight.
It'll help us stop the spread sooner so we can get back to the things we love.
But the word on the street?
Definitely not interested.
It doesn't really faze me.
What business is it theirs where I am and what I'm doing?
Suggesting there's still some convincing to do. Mark Riley, 7 News.
2 Gold Coast grandparents caught up in a cruise ship quarantine nightmare will have to self-isolate again. The O'Briens had only just returned home when they were told a passenger on their flight into Brisbane had tested positive to COVID-19.
Heading into Robina Hospital for testing, the O'Briens' holiday drama takes another unwanted turn.
We found out that one of the passengers had COVID-19.
This was last Monday. The pair elated, landing in Brisbane after being stuck for 7 weeks between the Vasco da Gama cruise ship and the Crown Casino in Perth.
I would love to get down and kiss the ground right now. It's just so good to be home.
They boarded the Vasco da Gama in Singapore on the 9th of March, setting off for Fremantle. 3 weeks later, they arrived in Perth, isolated at the Crown Casino for another 3 weeks. Finally boarding flight VA 431 from Perth to Brisbane via Melbourne on Monday afternoon. Rows 17 to 21 now told to isolate, with a passenger testing positive to the virus. The O'Briens were sitting in row 22.
We're still trying to track down 2 people.
The O'Briens believe everyone on flight VA 431 should self-isolate because social distancing wasn't adhered to on the plane and passengers moved around after it took off.
I think there was about 6 or 7 rows with 3 people across. All flights are supposed to have the centre aisle vacant.
An issue faced by Egypt Air, a Mercy flight arriving in Brisbane this morning. For the O'Briens, it will be a 9-week ordeal in total, heading into isolation yet again.
It's the first time I've really enjoyed digging the garden up and mowing the lawns.
Their sense of humour intact. Isabel Mullen, 7 News.
Satellite images of a parked train suggest Kim Jong-un may have been at his holiday compound in the past few days. The images show a train at a station reserved for the Kim family. The North Korean leader hasn't been seen for more than 2 weeks. There are reports he's gravely ill or even dead after heart surgery. The international community is concerned because Kim Jong-un has no clear successor.
These are very important developments because, after all, North Korea is now a nuclear power. And so that's our basic worry about North Korea. Who's going to get the nuclear weapons if the country falls into chaos?
The satellite images were analysed by a Washington-based North Korea monitoring project. It says the pictures lend weight to reports Kim is staying at the elite resort. Queensland's independent schools are ratcheting up the pressure on the Palaszczuk government to allow students back to school. There are growing concerns tens of thousands of senior students could be edged out of competitive university places.
A crucial time in their schooling lives turned upside down by COVID-19. And while school leavers are taking it in their stride,
I'm looking forward to going back to school.
The only question, how long before it will happen? Independent schools writing to the Premier, urging her to send the state's 95,000 Year 11 and 12s back immediately.
We believe that the safety of students and staff could be accommodated.
Year 12s are not only facing the disruption of studying amid COVID-19, they're also navigating their senior year as the first cohort to graduate with an ATAR instead of an OP score. Other states have had the ATAR system for years. The peak body fears Queensland students could be disadvantaged competing for uni admission.
We want to ensure that they get every opportunity to do the very best this year.
The Premier is looking at all options, but has ruled out a return to classrooms before May 15.
There's a lot of work that has to happen in the next 2 weeks to see what we do come that 15th of May.
Meaning for now, learning from home continues.
We definitely probably learn something new out of it, hopefully to take into uni.
A life lesson at least in staying positive. Rosanna Kingson, 7 News.
The global death toll from COVID-19 has reached a sad new milestone. More than 200,000 people have now succumbed to the virus worldwide. A quarter of those who've died are in the United States, while the United Kingdom has recorded more than 20,000 deaths. Here at home, 81 people have died. That's just 0.0405% of the total. Boris Johnson is to be raring to go ahead of his return to work tomorrow, leading Britain's fight against coronavirus after his own bout with the illness. But the World Health Organisation says it's still unclear whether people who've had coronavirus can get it a second time. Immunity is considered a key requirement to lifting restrictions, but scientists believe it's still too early to know.
One of the first countries to be hit hard by coronavirus outside China, Iran, where life has returned to the streets as the holy month of Ramadan begins. People are scared to come in, this shopkeeper says, and they have good reason to be scared. Dozens of people are still dying here every day from the virus as nations grapple with choosing the right time to lift lockdowns. In Berlin, protests. Where restrictions have only been partially lifted. The World Health Organisation now says one option for helping to ease draconian rules, so-called immunity passports, won't work. The hope is an antibody test can check whether someone has already had COVID-19, allowing them to travel again, return to work and the community. But WHO doctors say there is currently no evidence that people who have recovered from COVID-19 and have antibodies are protected from a second infection. And if people think they won't get sick again, they may no longer protect themselves and others. The WHO believes that false sense of security could ultimately lead to increased transmission of the virus, saying more research is needed. In Britain, the official death toll has now passed 20,000 and rising, a key benchmark the government was hoping would be the final death toll.
As the deaths caused by this terrible virus pass another tragic and terrible milestone, the entire nation is grieving.
Only now is the UK said to be considering forcing people travelling in from overseas into 14 days quarantine. In London, Hugh Whitfield, 7 News.
After more than 40 coronavirus task force briefings, Donald Trump did not address the American people today, saying they get nothing but fake news from his usual daily appearances. But critics suggest he's being sidelined after an embarrassing gaffe earlier this week.
After weeks at the lectern,
thank you very much, everyone.
Donald Trump skipped his daily briefing, explaining his absence on Twitter. What is the purpose of having White House news conferences when the lamestream media asks nothing but hostile questions and then refuses to report the truth or facts accurately? Not worth the time and effort. There are suggestions the White House might scale back news conferences after the president questioned injecting disinfectant as a coronavirus treatment.
I would suggest the media not take him out of context. I think this president has consistently said from the beginning that people should consult with their doctors.
They're warning of another grim American milestone, almost 1 million cases of COVID-19, a quarter of the world's deaths, with more than 53,000 lives lost. Still, the nation is slowly reopening. New York's governor planning a brief excursion.
Get out of the house, hike until they are fatigued and exhausted, because exhaustion is our friend.
Californians are countering a heat wave in the waves as temperatures hit the mid-30s.
I wanted to get my feet in the water, but it seems kind of early to me.
For those who couldn't make it to the beach, the city set up so-called cooling centres, air-conditioned town halls where those on lockdown could safely escape the heat.
It's kind of hard to stay inside.
It's very tempting to get out of the house.
And tempting to let safety measures slide.
When you put your mask on, it's just like it's hot. It's hard to breathe.
In Los Angeles, Amelia Brace, 7 News.
A Qantas Mercy flight is due to touch down in Australia shortly, carrying 150 Australians and 20 Kiwis who've been stranded in South America since the coronavirus outbreak. The crew and passengers acknowledged Anzac Day on their journey home.
I think it's a symbol of the Anzac spirit, and for me, a great way to honour my grandfather.
After the 15-hour flight, passengers will go into hotel quarantine in Melbourne for a fortnight. An aviation parking lot is growing in Australia's Red Centre tonight. For the very first time, an Airbus A380 touching down in Alice Springs, joining more than a dozen grounded planes gathering dust as far from the ocean as possible.
Nothing this big has ever landed in the Alice. A thrill for local plane spotters when the Singapore Airlines A380s touched down this morning. More than a dozen planes are now sitting in a storage facility at the Outback Airport, with more coming.
So there's potential for up to over 100 aircraft to be here before the end of the year.
At the start of the coronavirus pandemic, the big challenge was keeping planes in the air. But with 16,000 passenger planes around the world now grounded, the problem is finding somewhere to park them. Most Australian airports are packed with domestic planes. At Perth and Adelaide airports, Virgin's fleet isn't just grounded, it's also being guarded for collateral. International carriers are looking to Alice Springs Airport for its size and the weather.
The big issue with storing aeroplanes is moisture, so the drier the location, the better.
This is not like parking a car. Planes require serious maintenance, flying or not.
So a large amount of work goes into preparing the aircraft for storage. Once that's complete, the aircraft are then maintained every week on increasing rates of maintenance.
Keeping them airworthy until we're finally allowed to fly again could cost up to $5,000 for each plane each month. Angela Cox, 7 News.
Now to the weather, and Tony, plenty of sunshine to round out the weekend.
Yes, Katrina, barely a cloud in the sky across the southeast today as our warm April continued. Canungra did manage to dip into single figures, but it was a milder night closer to the coast. Then top temperatures above the April average. A few 30s inland. Archerfield reached 29 degrees and tops from 27 from Redcliffe down towards the Gold Coast. Now, an early taste of winter later this week. Katrina, I'll be back soon with all the details.
Thanks, Tony. It is unusual for a company to ask you to pay less. Up next, why more people can expect discounts on their car insurance. Plus, a dramatic surf rescue ends in tragedy for two mates. Also, caught by stargazers, the meteorite that came crashing to Earth. And in Flashback, we take to the sky with Ansett and discover where the brand is still alive.
Beyond the coronavirus crisis.
We'll show you the road out.
Your family, your job, your child's education, your money, your home.
Special reports, night by night.
Your essential guide for the better days ahead.
Only on 7 News, starting Monday.
7 News, brought to you by Business Australia.
If you're in business in Australia, right now you're facing one of your toughest challenges. It's not business as usual, and it's hard to know where to turn. Business Australia can help you manage your responsibilities to your employees, look after their health and well-being, and assist with strategies to maintain and sustain your business. We've been helping Australian businesses through thick and thin for 194 years, and we're here for you now. For free advice and support, visit businessaustralia.com.
Amazing.
Next, the whole house reveal.
You hit the bloody jackpot. Congratulations, mate.
It'll make history.
Wow.
As the best transformation ever.
Oh my God.
But there's one opinion that matters most. What will Mum think?
I'm really shaking. I'm so happy for you.
The must-see whole house reveal coming up next on 7.
It's horrible.
Shut up and take my money.
With more than 20% protein for muscle development, Nutri-Grain is one of the highest protein cereals.
How good do they look?
I thought you loved your ute.
Yeah. It's not a Ram.
Yeah, looks great. Sounds even better.
Nice truck, mate.
It's tax time. Stimulate your business now. Check your business's eligibility for the Government Instant Asset Write-Off for purchases made before June 30, 2020. The Ram 1500 pickup truck eats utes for breakfast.
Feed the family with Hungry Jack's new family bundle. Treat yourself with 2 Whoppers, 2 cheeseburgers, 4 small chips, 4 Cokes, 10 nuggets and sauce, only $24.95. Get takeaway, drive-through or delivery at Hungry Jack's.
Welcome to this ever-changing world where tomorrow can give way to the unknown. Your world can change in a moment. Never stop trying. Knowledge is power. Never stop learning. The future belongs to you. Love, Mum.
McDonald with 32 items in the Forgotta grocery bag lifting.
He's brought home the chockies with the milk, the bread, the bog roll, and saved himself 45 cents.
Another make it look easy moment from Sportsbet.
Tasty, affordable and delicious. What's for dinner in the next break with Coles?
Dramatic pictures have emerged of a surf rescue that ended in tragedy for 2 mates. A fisherman is barely staying above water after being swept off rocks by a freak wave near Margaret River in Western Australia.
I was toss and fro, in the middle of the waves. I let myself float and just praying, hopefully my other friend is okay.
Christopher Salazar was winched out, still looking for his friend who sadly couldn't be saved. New figures have revealed the number of cars on Brisbane roads has almost halved since lockdown began. The new reality fuelling calls for discounts on car registration and insurance fees to help struggling households.
On a sunny Brisbane day, the Sunday drive is non-existent. COVID-19 restrictions keeping us at home.
There's no doubt that we've seen a decrease in the number of people driving over the last few weeks of the lock-ins.
Traffic on Brisbane's toll roads down 40% in April, leading to calls for discounts on registration fees and compulsory third-party insurance.
It's important at the moment, when Australians need every dollar they can get, that state governments are not levying fees and taxes for services that can't be delivered.
One Big Switch's online campaign attracting more than 10,000 signatures and support from the state opposition.
It's important that the government responds to motorists at the moment that are struggling because of the coronavirus.
With cars spending more time in the driveway than on the road, insurance companies are offering relief to households in the form of policy discounts. Yui has given a 3-month 15% refund for all new and existing customers. Suncorp has introduced a Peace of Mind package which includes discounts of up to 20%, and motorists with RACQ can save an average of $30 per policy.
That's $5 million that we're giving back to motorists over the next few months.
Driving a better deal for Queenslanders. Elliot Chipper, 7 News.
Thousands of people united in an extraordinary protest in Israel. This is what a socially distanced demonstration looks like. Several thousand people deliberately spaced out and wearing face masks. They were protesting a government deal that leaves Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in power as he prepares for a corruption trial. A meteorite has exploded across the night sky before crashing in Brazil. A local observatory caught the moment, reporting that it entered the atmosphere at an altitude of about 105 kilometres, exploding about 40 k's later. No damage was reported. It helped to unite Australians on our most sacred day. So should we light up the dawn every year? After the break, what the RSL thinks about the future of the popular initiative. Plus, how to avoid hurting yourself at home as injuries linked to the lockdown rise. Also, blown tyres and 20 k's an hour. The police chase so slow, spectators took selfies. And after sport, where you can find Queensland's next big thing.
The collapse of Ansett.
Everyone you see, everyone you know is gone.
How its legacy lives on. Flashback 7 News coming up soon.
In Australian criminal history, no case has ever been
like this.
Diane, it's been a long time. Time to talk.
Each family member, all prime suspects.
Kenny, did you murder your father?
Bang, bang, bang. You will witness every bizarre development and an unmissable ending no one saw coming. The gripping 7 News investigation, Family of Suspects, tonight 8:30 on 7.
Hi, it's Matt Preston here in my lockdown kitchen, and the constant battle is working out what you're going to cook for dinner. So I've got a very simple idea, and it uses this, my favourite vegetable. That is, isn't that stunning? The cauliflower. You can roast it. In this case, we're going to use this cauliflower in a pasta along with bacon and also some cheese. It's totally delicious. I hope you're going to love it. We're going to start by breaking down the cauliflower. We want to cut it into florets because what we're going to do is actually going to cook the pasta and the cauliflower together. So this is the sort of size we want our cauliflower to be. Try and keep the cauliflower similar size so they all cook evenly. So all those little bits that have fallen off, you're going to fry those up. So cut our leaves into little bitey-sized pieces. And here we've got our delicious cauliflower florets. They're going to go into our pasta water. Right, it's time to cook our pasta. It couldn't be easier. I've got some water boiling on the stove, a big salty pot of water. I've also got some little bit of oil in a frying pan. I'm going to cook the bacon and the stems in. In goes our penne. Give it a stir. Now, bring it back to the boil, and when it's boiling, we'll just turn it down to a simmer and cook the pasta until it's al dente. What I'm going to do is I'm going to move this pot over here so I can start on the bacon. Straight into the pan with about 4 or 5, 6 rashers of bacon. Along with the bacon, I'm going to throw in all those cauliflower stalks as well to toast at the same time. When that starts to cook, we'll just throw in 5 cloves of garlic. But that smells unbelievable. Right, our pasta's got maybe 4 more minutes to cook, so I'm going to throw in the cauliflower florets now, and the pasta water will cook them and also season them, because that water, remember, is seasoned. So our bacon's done, and now it's just a matter of draining the pasta with the cauliflower in it and mixing the two together. Now, the most important thing here is to remember to reserve just a little bit of pasta water, because we're going to use that to deglaze all those burny, toasty juices around here on the pan. That's all delicious flavour there. So we get a really lovely silky sauce that coats the pasta. Final thing to add, a little bit of grated cheese. That honestly, I'd use Parmesan, but you can use Pecorino, you could use Tasty, it really doesn't matter. Next up, black pepper. I think essential for this dish. Right, here's our fantastic cauliflower and bacon pasta. Super simple, super easy. Well, oh, that smells amazing. So there you have it. My simple, easy cauliflower and bacon pasta. It's a favourite in my house. I hope it becomes a favourite in yours, whether you're by yourself or whether you're with your family in self-isolation. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Cheers.
At a time when Queenslanders are physically divided, yesterday one thing brought us together, the Anzac spirit. While the legacy lived on, a new tradition began with the RSL heralding the Light Up the Dawn campaign, a resounding success.
It was the dawning of a new era, a century-old tradition commemorated in a new light on driveways across Queensland.
It's the goosebumps on the arms and Australians remembering Australians for what we are.
What started as a Facebook suggestion by a Townsville veteran on March 16 was quickly endorsed by the RSL.
It was a great initiative from grassroots people within the community.
And adopted by the nation.
We will remember them. It was just such a warm feeling when I stepped out yesterday morning to look down my street.
RSL presidents from across the state believe COVID-19 did inspire more people to honour the Anzacs and created more time for personal reflection.
I'm hearing hundreds of thousands, and I would probably suggest even more than that.
RSL Queensland hopes those who don't usually attend formal dawn services will from now on head to the end of their driveway.
People in the community who don't get to attend Anzac Day services.
If it was to run alongside Anzac Day, then I think it would certainly work.
Encouraging everyone to remember any way they can. Amelia Radham, 7 News.
The Family Court of Australia is compiling a list of parenting disputes that need urgent attention following a spike in applications during the coronavirus crisis. Matters involving domestic violence, border restrictions or COVID-related medical issues are eligible for the list. Modified hearings will commence on Wednesday. Hospitals have seen a spike in serious injuries as people stuck at home try their hand at DIY projects and new hobbies. Falls from ladders, exercise injuries and kitchen burns are now commonplace, and they're tying up valuable resources at our emergency departments.
When you're locked down at home day in, day out, it's easy to spot a problem that needs fixing.
Painting.
I'm doing a kennel for the dog, actually.
Doing like a garden bed, for my apartment.
According to Bunnings, 65% of Aussies have at least one unfinished DIY project at home. But as we become handier around the house, we're also putting ourselves at increased risk.
People are climbing up ladders to fix the gutters. People are climbing up ladders to fix the roof. People are climbing up ladders to adjust the swing.
At-home injuries accounted for the highest number of presentations to the Alfred's emergency room over the last 3 weeks. And it's not just home improvements that pose a risk. Hobbies, sports and even cooking can all cause serious injury.
Anything from bleeding on the brain to broken necks to broken ribs to the collapsed lung.
Doctors want to remind the community emergency departments are open and you should seek medical advice if you're unwell. But many at-home injuries are avoidable and could be draining resources from those who need them.
Be patient so that you can avoid becoming a patient.
Jodie Lee, 7 News.
Well, this was certainly one of LA's slower police chases. A suspected drunk driver with 4 blown tyres was dragging a spike strip but still trying to outrun officers. It was so slow at times, a spectator almost outran the car on foot. After an hour, police finally came in with the pit manoeuvre.
Yeah, they're going to take him out right now. Here it goes. And that is going to do it. They're going to push him down the street a little bit.
He surrendered while the car was still moving, lying face down on the road. Feel like a spa weekend holiday? Well, it's not as ridiculous as you may think. In tonight's Acts of Kindness, a mother of Park Ridge has come up with the perfect way to treat her son to a relaxing retreat. If you can't go to Bali, bring Bali to you. At least that's what one innovative mum did for her son's 21st birthday. Helen Green transformed her back deck into the Fat Buddha Spa and Bar. Her son and his girlfriend treated to massages, facials and beers on ice. These North Queensland hospital staff are due a holiday when this is all over.
Thank you.
Further abroad, the doctor has a message.
Never give up and never give in.
Doctor Who, all of them united as one to pay tribute to real doctors and frontline health workers.
What you all do and have done for all of us is amazing.
And the Lord of the Dance has also stepped up to the plate. Irish dancers from Michael Flatley's successful production have released a special social isolation performance as they vacuum, cook dinner, walk the dog and, of course, take care of the essentials. Impressive. Well, have you been putting off visiting your doctor? The new campaign, as Queenslanders are warned, a health tsunami is coming. Plus, the unsung heroes protecting us from the spread of coronavirus. Also, how Queensland cattle are helping to save lives around the world. And a party fit for a polar bear. SeaWorld celebrates Mishka's birthday.
I have been watching you, Australia. You see, I never went away. And now, I am ready to play. Welcome to my brand new house.
I gotta be me.
In every room, between every wall and around every corner, I will be there, watching and listening.
I want to live,
There is nowhere to run.
not merely survive.
There is nowhere to hide.
And I won't give up this dream of life that keeps me alive.
I have searched for a new breed of housemate
I gotta be me.
to play my game. But nothing will prepare them for what I've got planned.
What else can I be but
My house, my rules, my game. Who wins? You decide.
I gotta be me.
Big brother, what are you playing at?
I am Big Brother.
Their doors might be closing, but they're always open on eBay. Stay home, shop online, and help support 40,000 Aussie retailers.
Employees of Budget Direct. Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians. Will you fight to save people on their car and home insurance? Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
Geeks to you saved my life.
Actually, I just saved all these photos. This PC had a virus.
Geeks to you set up, synced up and sorted out my world.
Well, her IT world at least.
With our new improved download speed, we're streaming every night.
Is there no end to their problem-solving powers?
If there is a problem we can't fix, you don't pay.
They may be geeks to you, but they're miracle workers to me.
Call 1300 Geeks to You and we'll come to you.
If you're a small business, you've probably got a lot of questions right now, which is why you should speak to a professional accountant who's trained in planning and cash flow management strategies. For further support, contact a professional accountant today.
Give your home a refresh with the latest winter essentials from Maya. With 15% off the original price of appliances by Breville, Philips, Tefal, Panasonic and iRobot. And 30% off selected quilt covers, sheets and towels.
Maya, my store.
NRMA Insurance has always been committed to helping Australians. And while 2020 has already been a year like no other, we remain dedicated to helping our customers through this time. While you're at home, our customer care team is on hand continuing to help as we always will.
Checking Fuelcast now. The RACQ says to fill up the tank because prices are low. The average price for unleaded fuel in Brisbane is 88.5 cents and 85 cents if you're on the Gold Coast. Queensland cattle have been used in an extraordinary race against time to save lives during COVID-19. Heart tissue has been flown to the other side of the world to make heart valves for patients.
Precious cargo loaded at Brisbane Airport on a Mercy flight to the US. Inside, a lifeline which COVID-19 nearly stopped.
And when all of a sudden our normal flights got cancelled, as you can imagine, we got very nervous.
These boxes carry Queensland cattle tissue, the crucial ingredient to make valves for heart patients. Destination, Los Angeles, and medical company, Edwards Life Sciences.
More than 90% of Australia's exports usually go out in the bellies of passenger aircraft. And of course, those passenger planes basically aren't flying.
If we're unable to provide heart valves, then all of the heart replacements that happen around the world would be at risk.
Adding to the pressure, a tight deadline. If the consignment doesn't make it, it's no longer usable.
So literally, if it goes beyond 96 hours and 1 minute, we have to throw it away.
And the production just as intricate as the transfer. To make one heart valve alone, it takes nearly 150 employees, 6 weeks of testing, 40 days to make, and around 1,000 stitches to put together. But all wouldn't be possible without the Queensland cattle.
And it's not just quality of life, it's actually life or death.
Thankfully, space was found on 2 Qantas flights to get the supplies on time.
Yeah, great that we can help people either save lives or give them a better life.
A high-tech solution with help from Queensland. Brittany Lane, 7 News.
A new campaign has launched urging people not to put off visiting their GP out of fear of catching coronavirus. Doctors say people are avoiding standard consultations and worry it will lead to a tsunami of patients once the pandemic is under control. They are the unsung heroes protecting us from the spread of COVID-19. Tonight we show you the Queensland cleaners and the lengths they go to keep us safe.
They're used to dirty jobs, crime scenes to meth labs. Now they're cleaning coronavirus-infected sites.
Every surface, carpets, upholsteries, hard surfaces, walls, touch points, everything.
In an uncontaminated site, showing how decontamination is done, often without interruption to normal business.
A lot of people want it overnight, so we'll work through the night to try and get it done. So it could be ranges anywhere from 12 plus hours.
Hazardous work requiring full protective gear.
So your overall suits, double glove, you've got your face masks, boot covers and all your chemicals there that pretty much kill it.
And just like healthcare workers, safety equipment is hard to find.
Everybody's out there trying to grab it. So yeah, we're on the daily trying to hunt stuff down.
On-site COVID-19 cleaners use a safety checklist, follow industry standards for using chemical cleaning products and follow Queensland Health Department guidelines. Updated weekly to avoid infection.
It's pretty scary at first, but you get used to it, like sort of everything else.
You know, it's no different for us, it's what we do on the daily, going out and being on the front line.
An unseen job protecting the community. Elliot Chipper, 7 News.
Coming up, we've got the big pineapple and the big mango, where you can now find a giant roll of toilet paper, plus a birthday treat for one of SeaWorld's biggest stars. And in flashback, the rise and fall of Ansett, the airline's impact on the aviation industry. Time for sport now, and Webby, you've got an inspiring story tonight.
I have, Katrina, and it is a beauty. Hello everyone. Ahead, the NRL still to woo Queensland authorities. The AFL's delay on a comeback only means more blisters for one young lion. And the dual Olympian who's faced so much turmoil just to target Tokyo.
Our world has been turned upside down by this crisis.
Finding new ways to honour a legend born 115 years ago.
We need a place to turn to for answers.
The big question, when will further restrictions be eased?
To get the facts.
Keeping children home is a worst-case scenario.
What you need to know right now to be prepared.
Now it's used by almost 10,000 doctors.
Your definitive source. Turn to 7 News.
It's amazing.
Next, the whole house reveal.
You hit the bloody jackpot. Congratulations, mate.
It'll make history. Wow. As the best transformation ever. The must-see whole house reveal coming up next on 7.
I started going out with a guy called Terry, and everyone took an instant dislike to him, including me. Seriously, it only took about 3 seconds to work out how deeply unpleasant, screwed up and angry he was. I went out with him for a year.
I just went and got some milk. Just like a chocolate milkshake, only crunchy. Who won the race to the shop?
I did.
employees of Budget Direct. Over 20 years, you have become the country's most award-winning insurer, providing top-notch cover for more than 3 million Australians. Will you fight to save people on their car and home insurance? Who are you?
Proudly saving Australians on insurance for 20 years. Budget Direct. Insurance solved.
It's a time of chaos.
This gets out, we're looking at a damn race war.
In Stan's brand new series, Penny Dreadful, City of Angels.
It's a wicked world, and it's only got you and me to save it.
All mankind needs to be the monster he truly is being told you can't.
LA? Oh, it's the promised land.
The brand new series, Penny Dreadful, City of Angels. Now streaming only on Stan.
At Domino's, we pride ourselves on handcrafted pizzas, but after leaving our 265-degree ovens, the only hands that touch them are yours. Try any large pizza from just $15 delivered with zero contact delivery from Domino's.
The NRL still hasn't formally asked Anastasia Palaszczuk for help to get the code restarted on May 28. But the Premier did confirm today 2 sports have lodged submissions. They've been referred to medical experts.
It really will be looking at what the health consequences are, both for the players but also for the general community.
It leaves little hope for Queensland teams to train this side of the border. The Storm confirmed they'll be in New South Wales, but enthusiastically thanked Peter V'landys.
One of the hardest parts about all this, life in general, but also sport, is the uncertainty. Well, he's given us the target. And ever since we've had that target, they had a spring in their step.
It's understood the NRL is working with federal officials first. As the AFL investigates using interstate hubs to reignite its season, a Lion star is already one step ahead. D-Day for the league was supposed to be tomorrow, but for Hugh McCluggage, the fortnight delay means more time back where it all began.
From the Lions midfield to wide open fields.
Just heading off to the dairy now, do some fencing, but before I head off, I'll give you guys a quick tour around.
The McCluggage Dairy Farm, 600 acres, 700 milkers.
Here's the cows, this is where the magic happens.
20 minutes outside Warrnambool, Jonathan Brown country.
Here we got the calves, middle of the calving season at the moment, so Dad's flat out delivering them. I'm absolutely loving it, to be honest. It's great to be able to get back and have a bit of space. I think that's the best thing about it. Be able to go outside, kick the footy around.
Following the club's training program, you get the feeling Hugh's benefiting just as much from Dad's.
He's just got me doing the easy jobs, a bit of fencing and running around and cleaning the paddocks up while he's busy with calving, so it's been good.
Blistered hands suggest otherwise. That country work ethic's seen the 22-year-old named in the All-Australian squad and Lions leadership group.
When you're out there and you've got blisters on the hands from the shovel, or you see what people are doing in the workforces, and I can really appreciate being able to play footy for a job.
Grounded, talking well above his years, McCluggage believes the biggest battle of a suspended season's the unknown.
At the moment, that motivation comes from internally, but I think once we get back to training as a group, it's really important that we look at what we have done and how far we've come. We don't want that to be lost because of this little break in footy.
In the meantime, the fourth-year players improvising.
Yeah, when the cows are coming in and you're sort of dodging them and whatnot, you don't want to get trampled on. There's a few little things that you can relate to footy.
Ben Davis, 7 News.
Health chiefs have put conditions on any special exemptions for October's T20 World Cup to go ahead in Australia. Teams from 15 countries are due to fly in.
Cricket Australia's set an August deadline to decide whether the Windies can defend their title down under, but it's clear there are still hurdles.
I can assure you that there would need to be a lot of safeguards, particularly if it was talking about teams coming from a country with a high rate of transmission.
CA hinted the Prime Minister's department is involved. Former St Kilda forward Aaron Sipos's NFL dream has come true, with Detroit Lions signing the 27-year-old. Sipos was overlooked in the draft, but soon after was snared by Detroit as an undrafted free agent. The Aussie's been a punter for Auburn University in Alabama since 2018. The IndyCar's virtual series headed to the Circuit of the Americas in Texas. Supercars champ Scott McLaughlin was again impressive, summoning all his skill to dodge his Penske teammate Aussie Will Power.
It again.
McLaughlin tiptoed by, finishing fourth. Power was sixth, behind England's rising F1 star Lando Norris. Next stop, Indianapolis. Pat Welch, 7 News.
The Tokyo Olympics postponement has been a blessing in what's shaping as an incredible comeback story. BMX racer Caroline Buchanan is a marvel of mental and physical strength, recovering from a life-threatening accident.
That Caroline Buchanan can even do this again is one thing. That she wants to says it all about the fortitude of a champion BMX racer.
That really puts me into the shoes of my office. That's the adrenaline that I love.
When lockdown started, Buchanan reset.
New Olympic goal, July 2021.
Home from the US to isolation.
Welcome to my quarantine location.
Her boyfriend's 500-acre property outside Canberra, a BMX and mountain biking wonderland.
I think a real asset for me is going through 2.5 years of different complications and setbacks. It really is the time, I think, just to step up and elevate.
The setbacks: a life-threatening off-road accident, intensive care, 9 surgeries. Sponsors like Oakley doubled down. And look at Caroline now.
To be having 130 kilos on my back on a squat, to be deadlifting, to be rope climbing, and make sure that I can have the strongest body that I can to also, bounce when I hit the ground and not break.
Chasing an elusive gold at a third Olympics, this buys time to qualify. Matt Carmichael, 7 News.
Told you it was a beauty.
It was very inspiring stuff. Thank you, Webby.
Right.
Well, SeaWorld has put the ice in isolation for polar bear Mishka, presenting the cub with a cake-shaped snow sculpture for her 3rd birthday. She was quick to devour the watermelon decorations, and of course it wouldn't have been a party without presents, including a yellow boy that's now become her favourite toy. Just a few weeks ago, we faced a nationwide shortage. Now it seems toilet paper could be in oversupply, with a giant roll showing up out the front of a church in Rockhampton. At 4 metres tall, it has a big message for those passing by: love one another, do unto others. A reminder to check in with those around us during the pandemic, or maybe simply to help wipe away our tears. Virgin's financial crash landing has brought back memories of Ansett collapse. Up next in Flashback, the former airline's strong connection to the Sunshine State.
And at the moment it's 23 degrees in Brisbane. A warm few days ahead, but a cooler change isn't far away. I'll have the forecast coming up next.
Busted. Drones dropping drugs into Queensland prisons day and night. Video never seen before on 7 News, Monday at 6.
Hi, darling.
Hi, Grandpa.
Are you ready?
Yes.
In a green rolling hill
Lived a giant named Bill.
No one's friend but the hares.
It's more important than ever to stay close. And you can, with an extra 25 gigs of mobile data to use within 30 days. Register via My Telstra app by 30th of June.
To keep us all safe and to help our health workers, it's vital to know quickly if you've come in contact with someone who has tested positive for coronavirus. It's why we've introduced the COVID Safe app. With your privacy protected by law, COVID Safe keeps a secure note of other users you've been near if you have to go out. So, if they test positive for coronavirus, you'll be notified. It'll help us stop the spread sooner so we can get back to the things we love. Download COVID Safe today. Authorised by the Chief Medical Officer, Canberra.
At Terry White ChemMart, we're here to help this winter with expert advice from masterclass trained pharmacists and a huge range of pharmacy-only cold and flu products. Get real winter defence at Terry White ChemMart. Now that's real chemistry.
Light up their afternoons with the awesomeness of puffed rice. Try bite-size LCM's poppers.
Head to Macca's right now if you're looking for a treat and get a creamy McFlurry for only $2 or a McValue family box for $24.95. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
The COVID-19 crisis brings unprecedented internet traffic over the NBN network.
To help support Australia during this time, we currently offer internet providers up to 40% increased network capacity. Our technicians remain on the ground wherever they're needed. And we're sharing updated tips to help you get more from your home setup. To find out more, visit nbn.com.au/response.
Dad, we might need to pick up some more bread.
Dad.
I'll pick some up.
Thanks.
Now more than ever, we know what families are going through, so you can pick up lots of specials every week. Like chicken schnitzel from the deli, now $1 each. That's better than half price. Find them all in our online catalogue. We want you to always get your Woolies worth.
That's why I pick Woolies.
It's amazing.
Next, the whole house reveal.
You hit the bloody jackpot. Congratulations, mate.
It'll make history as the best transformation ever.
Oh, my God.
But there's one opinion that matters most. What will Mum think?
I'm really shaking. I'm so happy for you.
The must-see whole house reveal coming up next on 7.
Making news this hour, small freedoms will return to Queenslanders from next weekend. The Premier has announced the first wave of restrictions to be eased. Concerns for Queensland's senior cohort, pressure mounts on the state government to send students back to school. And a new government app has launched aiming to slow the spread of coronavirus through digital contact tracing. Virgin's slide into voluntary administration has this week revived memories of the demise of Ansett. Both airlines shared deep connections with Queensland. Here's Rod Young with tonight's flashback.
In the shelter of the Great Barrier Reef, and within a few hours' flying distance of Brisbane, is the famous Whitsunday Passage, at the most northerly end of which lies Hayman Island.
Before 1950, we didn't have an international tourism industry.
The man who conceived the plan for Australia's first luxury tourist hotel is Mr. R.M. Ansett.
The best resort in Australia, but one of the best in the world at that time.
This was opening day.
There's no winter on Hayman Island, so holidaymakers enjoy continual sunshine as they set out to explore coral gardens.
Reg Ansett originally ran a road, passenger and freight service in Victoria, but the state government outlawed his operation to protect their railways. So he beat them all by starting an airline. It spread its wings across Australia and began flying southerners to Coolangatta. In 1964, it entered the modern era.
Yes, the jet age now, and it's the best jet for this type for inside Australia, the best jet in the world, and it's as fast as anything in the world. So it's the best, and it's just good enough for Australia.
That jet remained in service for 33 years, which was part of Ansett's problem. Its fleet was old and operated too many different aircraft models. By then, Reg Ansett had sold the airline.
Everyone you see, everyone you know is golden shine.
Ansett collapsed in 2001 after the September 11 terror attacks shut down travel. Devastating for staff, passengers and Queensland's tourism.
Ultimately, it ended up with Air New Zealand, who were just totally incapable of running an airline the size of Ansett.
15,000 people lost their jobs. Many found new careers with Virgin. For those staff, this week has felt like history repeating. The jets were sold off or broken up, but its simulators found a new life, bought by a company which also secured the rights to use the Ansett name and logo. Its Brisbane facility at Pinkenbar.
People even driving past our site still see the big Ansett logo. There's generally a pretty good feeling about that sort of brand.
Ansett's good safety record has enabled this training company to become a global leader as it equips the next generation of pilots.
The Ansett name is very well thought of. I mean, they did some fantastic things.
Weather time now, and Tony, what can we expect for the week ahead?
Oh, Katrina, after a few weeks of warm and sunny weather, there will be a bit more variety during the course of this week. I'll have more on that in a moment. Today, though, much the same. Mostly sunny skies, warm temperatures, beautiful conditions if you could get outside for a bit, though this run is leaving a few gardens and lawns thirsty at the moment. A cool night inland before it warmed up. Brisbane, 16 up to 28 degrees. Greenbank reached a top of 30. Toowoomba a little bit cooler with a top of 26 degrees. Onto the chart, a belt of high pressure over southern parts of Queensland has left our clear skies today. Warm air is also trapped ahead of an inland trough here and linked to a cold front moving across southeastern states. Tomorrow that trough moves a little bit closer, so this warm air does remain for us ahead of that system. Dry for much of the nation thanks to this broad band of high pressure. Around the capitals, a little bit of wet weather in Sydney though. A shower or two on the cards there. Sunny but cool, a top of 18 in Melbourne. Back home to Queensland in the tropics, an early shower is possible in Cairns, but a mostly sunny day to follow. Remaining dry in Townsville and Mackay, top of 28 degrees there. Down to southern parts of the state and some patchy high-level cloud, but it won't bring any rain. Gympie tracking for 29 degrees, similar for Maryborough, a touch cooler with 28 degrees on the cards for Hervey Bay. Across the southeast, a mostly sunny Monday ahead and staying warm. Ipswich and Beaudesert up around 30 degrees. Logan and 29, Caboolture a touch cooler and 28. Across the suburbs, Bayside areas will be coolest thanks to some easterly sea breezes. Sandgate and Manly tracking for 27 and 28 degrees. So in Brisbane, just a little bit warmer than today, 17 tonight, then back up to a mostly sunny top of 29 degrees. The days are rapidly getting shorter at the moment. Sunset is at 5:20 p.m. Now looking further ahead onto the 7-day forecast, we could see a possible shower into Tuesday and Wednesday, but I think most places will stay dry during that period. In Ipswich, heating up on Thursday, a top of 31 degrees rather. Then we could see a late shower as the southwesterly wind change moves through. Now that will make itself felt on Friday, including on the Gold Coast, a top of just 22 degrees. That'll feel more like the mid-teens if you are stuck out in the wind. Then the nights start to cool down as that wind eases towards next weekend. Minimums of 10 degrees on the Sunshine Coast next Saturday and Sunday. In the meantime, remaining warm, so Katrina, you do have a few days to dust off the winter wardrobe.
Thanks, Tony. Well, that's all from us this Sunday. Thanks for your company from all the team. Good night.